welcome to Media Spectrum, where stories still matter. So, full disclosure, right now I am dealing with the COVID, so forgive me if I'm a little raspier or more nasally or anything than usual. I am. And, stay safe out there, because this is still going around. Even a few years after the big pandemic, you can still get it. It's not the sickest I've ever been, but it's worse than your average chest cold for sure. It's not fun. I do not recommend it, so stay safe. But I promised I was going to start this series on Friday, and Friday's coming up, and by God, I'm not going to be proven a liar this early into this channel. So here we go. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy has for a long time been one of my favorite comic book movies, probably one of my top 5 comic book movies. I think with comic book movies, you can effectively go in one of two directions. You can go in what I'll call the Dark Knight method, where you try so hard to be a serious film that defies genre that critics will all love and take seriously. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love The Dark Knight. I love some more serious comic book movies like that. Or you can go in the direction of just saying, guys, this is a movie based on superhero comic books. Let's just have fun. And this is a shining example of the latter. This is just such a pure, fun movie that I think is aged very, very well. Now, going back to rewatch this, one of the things I was most surprised at is how it does feel kind of historically significant in hindsight. And what I mean by that is this movie kind of launched quite a bit. First off, this is the movie that took Chris Pratt from being just that funny, dumb guy on Parks and Rec.
She did make a stop by the shoe shine stand before we left because she wanted to drop something off for Andy. She had a real bad crush on him.
Oh, babe, you had a crush on me. That's embarrassing.
We're married.
Still.
To an actual movie star. And since then, he's gone on to other franchises. He's, love him or hate him, he's become one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. So this really launched that career. Secondly, there's Dave Bautista, who is by far the best wrestler turned actor, in my opinion.
I crave to be a better actor. Like, it's all I want. I'm absolutely obsessed and have so much passion for this craft. But I knew it was going to be challenging, and it was.
You're just another big muscle head trying to be an actor. You just want to be a movie star.
People naturally, and I understand why, want to put me in that box.
And I fought really hard not to be that guy because I wanted people to take me serious as an actor.
I just wanted to prove that I could stand on stage with the best actors in the world and hold my own and feel like they wanted me there, feel like I deserved to be there.
And I knew I'd have to pay some dues and struggle a little bit.
And I made it the priority of my life.
I know he's not necessarily as big of a star as Dwayne Johnson is or John Cena is, but as far as being an actual actor who plays different characters and makes bold decisions, I think Bautista is levels above them. And he is magnificent in this movie. I'll get to the actual performances a little more later. The third reason I think it's kind of historically significant is for James Gunn. Now, this didn't launch James Gunn's career. James Gunn already had a pretty solid career going into this. But James Gunn has gone on to become one of the most influential directors in this entire genre, working on both this whole series for Marvel, going over to DC, doing his work with Suicide Squad, and now effectively is the CEO, I believe, of DC. And this movie started all three of that. So for nothing else, it's historically significant, I think, for all three of those reasons. But again, take away any historical significance, mock me for saying it's significant for launching those careers or elevating those careers, whatever. Again, this is still just one of the purest fun movies I think I've seen. And a huge part of that comes down to this cast. So like I said, you've got Chris Pratt, who is perfect as Star-Lord.
Peter Jason Quill from Terra, raised from youth by a band of mercenaries called the Ravagers, led by Yondu Udanta.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know how this machine worked.
Say whatever you will about Chris Pratt personally, his politics, whatever. As this type of lovable, dumbass, smartass character, he is pitch perfect. I cannot imagine anyone else other than him playing Star-Lord. Then we've got Dave Bautista as Drax the Destroyer, a man who takes everything literally.
His people are completely literal. Metaphors are gonna go over his head.
Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it.
And my God, his delivery of some of these lines is perfect. Just pitch perfect. I swear to God, this is probably the most authentic portrayal of an autistic character I've seen since Michael Fall.
Okay, do we know anything about the man that the train hit, Miguel Laviera?
He's dead now, Brooke. The train, because of its Westinghouse ECHEM XCA448F propulsion system, requires a minimum stopping distance of 625 feet. Before the train came to a complete stop, it ran over 3 trash bags, a piece of gum, a Snickers wrapper, a man, and a glove.
And Bautista does not get enough credit for that. Like, this character could so easily be an absolute joke, and he walks such a fine line of, yeah, leaning into the inherent absurdity of it, but still keeping us caring about him, you know? Then you've got Bradley Cooper, who I would not know played Rocket Raccoon if I didn't look up the cast. You know, he does an incredible job with his voice, putting on a very different accent, cadence of speaking, where I rarely at all hear his real voice in it. So kudos to him for doing his voice acting on his.
Here you go.
Oh, I was just kidding about the leg. I just need these 2 things.
What?
No, I thought it'd be funny. Was it funny? No, wait, what did he look like hopping around?
I had to transfer him 30,000 units.
And then there's Vin Diesel giving the most emotional, nuanced performance of his entire career.
I am Groot.
So what? It's better than 11%. What the hell does that have to do with anything?
Thank you, Groot. Thank you. See? Groot's the only one of you who has a clue.
I can't believe he managed to remember all the dialogue. Kudos to you, Vin Diesel. Didn't know you had this in you. And maybe most importantly, holding it all together is Zoe Saldana as Gamora, who is effectively the straight person in this group, but you need someone like that in a movie like this, where you've got this group together that are all wacky and silly and out there. You need a serious person to bounce off of. And she does a great job of playing that role while still being just loose enough to get along and fit in with this group.
I'm gonna die surrounded by the biggest idiots in the galaxy.
Here's a big negative I can give this movie. It is that the villain is very unremarkable. One of the more generic villains I've seen in a comic book movie. I also think this does a good job of setting up Thanos, setting up some things that are important for the wider Marvel universe, while still working really well as a self-contained movie. This is something we'll get into throughout the series review for sure, but it is one of my critiques about Marvel, is that their movies get so interconnected that you often feel like you need to have seen like a dozen different movies just to understand one. And this movie largely avoids that problem, which I really, really appreciate. And then beyond just the cast, the writing is very good in this. James Gunn has such a unique, particular sense of humor that is very kind of sophomoric at times. There's definitely times where he's trying to do what a middle schooler would think is edgy with some of these jokes, you know. But it's also genuinely heartfelt. That's something you see in this movie. It's something you see in Suicide Squad. You see in other films of his. But this series in particular is really fixated on family. You know, I know Vin Diesel loves to talk about Fast and the Furious being about family. No. This movie is genuinely about family. It's about a bunch of broken misfits coming together and creating a family. And that's nothing new. It's basic. It's simple. But sometimes that's all a movie has to be. Sometimes all you have to do is just take something simple and familiar and execute it well. And that is what this movie does so well. It takes some very familiar ideas, it takes a familiar sort of setup, but puts it through this absurdist sense of humor with, again, a pitch-perfect cast that has fantastic chemistry. Everyone in this bounces off everyone else naturally. I could not replace a single main person in this. So, yeah, at the end of the day, Guardians of the Galaxy still holds up. Still some of the most pure, dumb fun you can have. If you want to dig for meaning about family, it's there. It's pretty on the surface, but it's still there. And again, I do think it is surprisingly historically significant for the careers that it either launched and, in James Gunn's case, just helped elevate. So those are my thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Again, sorry, this is a little more brief than usual. I'm struggling to even talk right now. Hopefully I'll be feeling a bit better next week when we get to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, stay sane, stay human.